Stress. We all have it. It's a part of life. How we deal with stress impacts our lives. In this lecture, we will look at the sources of stress. As a result of this lesson, you will be able to use correct vocabulary terms including stress, stressor, stress reaction, distress, and eustress, justify categorizations of conflict situations by type, apply the 2 steps of situational appraisal to a stressful situation, and identify environmental stressors, life changes, and hassles or uplifts relevant to their lives. What is stress? I am recording this lecture before I see the results of our discussion question, but I am guessing our personal understandings of stress are a bit scattered. That is okay because even psychology researchers can define it differently. Is stress the event that causes tension? The physical or psychological response? Our perception of a situation? So that we can agree on what we are talking about here, we will use the textbook's definition of stress. The anxious or threatening feeling resulting from our appraisal of a situation and our reaction to demands placed upon us. Cashow, 2014, page 420. We will refer to the stress-producing event as the stressor and the body's response as the stress reaction. Most of the time, stress gets a bad rap as something to be avoided, but there are also healthy instances of stress. We use the term distress for the negative kind, the kind that manifests in an anxiety and is tied to all kinds of illnesses and problems, as we will see. However, there is also a good kind of stress. We call this eustress. Think of this like a challenging situation that pushes you to a peak performance, as in a sports competition. Can you think of examples of distress and eustress from your own life? Pause the video and jot them down in your notes. In our lives, we make hundreds of choices each day, some inconsequential, but others are decisions that bring with them a lot of stress. As we weigh our options and consider the choices before us, it is helpful to understand which of the 4 types of conflict situation we are encountering. In approach conflict, we are choosing between 2 favorable options. This is like a win-win situation. When I am choosing ice cream flavors at Ivanhoe's, I can't really go wrong. It is ice cream. It will be good. The opposite of this is an avoidance conflict, in which we have to choose between 2 disagreeable options. For me, every morning I do a chore before school, dishes or laundry. Neither is particularly appealing. As I tell my children, that is why we call them jobs and not funs. Choices in life are often more complex than all good or all bad options. In an approach avoidance situation, we have to make a decision that presents both desirable and unfavorable outcomes. For us, that describes our thoughts in buying a new-to-us car. We go back and forth saying things like, Hondas are reliable, to, but it has so many miles, to, well, we need a vehicle, to, ugh, why is it so expensive? In these tricky situations, we often seek additional information to help us tip the scale one way or the other. The most common type is the double approach avoidance conflict, where we have 2 or more options to consider, all with pros and cons to consider. For example, when choosing a pet, should we get a dog or a cat? Dogs are so friendly and loving, but they are kind of needy with all of the walking and letting outside. Cats are much lower maintenance pets, but they also can have weird personalities, and there is that smelly litter box. Now, you might not see this as an example of this. You may interpret cats as terrible choices and see this as a non-decision, just a given. This brings up the individualized aspect of stress. What is a stressful situation for one person might not be for another. It all has to do with how we appraise it. Primary appraisal is our immediate evaluation of a situation. This can be positive, negative, or irrelevant. When my son Evan, who only has a permit right now, has to park the van near another vehicle, he gets anxious, when that doesn't evoke any stress response from me. Roundabouts, however, are another story entirely. This is our initial reaction, like a gut-level response. A secondary appraisal occurs when we evaluate different options for coping. What resources do we have available? Since this appraisal is more intentional, we take it slower and are more deliberate in our processing. Who gets blamed? Who gets credit? This is when we can choose to activate our coping mechanisms. Future expectancy also plays in. What do we think will happen as a result of the present situation? When we look at stressors, or the events or situations that cause stress responses, some are found in our surroundings. Environmental stressors include noise, odors, crowding, and temperature. These factors can impact our stress levels and exacerbate our responses to other causes of stress, like life changes and daily hassles. Pause for a moment and think about all of the life changes that are likely to take place in the next decade of your life. High school graduation, new jobs, leaving home, college, marriage, finances, maybe babies. Lots of exciting times are in your future. There are bound to be some unforeseen ones too. Many of these will be good events, and some not so good. Make no mistake, you will be feeling a great deal of stress in this coming decade. But take heart, this is the stuff life is made of, and we will talk about coping skills on day 3. When you read the chapter, take a look at the list of life events on page 424. Which ones do you foresee coming in the next 2 years? Look at it again and think of an important adult in your life. Does it help you understand their stress level? Sometimes, though, it isn't big, huge events occurring, but we feel stressed anyway. That is because the little everyday hassles of life can really add up to have a large cumulative effect on our physical and psychological well-being. The cat pukes on the floor, I can't find my favorite sweatshirt, my Walmart pickup gets canceled, and I have a stack of papers to grade. Remember, though, that there are 2 kinds of stress, eustress and distress. Well, the little positive events of a day, called uplifts, can also really add up over time. A kind word from a sweet student, a husband who makes a delicious dinner, and a cheerful FaceTime with my daughter, and suddenly everything seems A-OK. What uplifts have happened to you today, this week, this month? Counting your blessings is a very real antidote to stress, as we will see. Thank you.